Hello everybody, welcome back to Omens, episode, I forget which number it is, I think it's 8. Um, Today we're talking about the High Priestess, so exciting times. And interestingly enough, when I was pulling out the cards for this, every deck I was searching through to get the High Priestess, and it was, I'd start at the top, go all the way down, and then I'm like, I'm gonna have to search. She was making me search for her every single deck. Like, one of them was like, I know this isn't gonna work, but I'm gonna search from the back first, and like, with 5 cards in, I'm like, nope, go back, sitting in the middle. So, which is perfect for the High Priestess, because she represents mysteries that you have to dig for. Um, but setting that aside, because I just immediately almost started diving in. I'm Ryan, by the way, if you don't know already. If you just found a random episode to start at. I'm Ryan, he, him, his pronouns, occasionally AM airs, if I can get anybody to use those pronouns. But that's my own thing for not actually mentioning them often. Non-binary, by the way. If you want my full introduction, go back and listen to the pre-first episode, episode 0, where I kind of introduced myself and everything I'm doing here. Any housekeeping I gotta do? Oh, one thing. So, as y'all know, well, you might not, I do have a Patreon page. I am kind of mulling over some ideas, because currently what I have on there for the different tiers is just basic, and then some of the higher level tiers are just tarot card readings, different ones. I'm mulling over some other ideas to do. If you want to give me some comments for stuff you might want to see at Patreon, as extras for the higher tiers, I forget what I named them all. They're cool names that have to do with dragons, because I like dragons. But it doesn't have anything to do with the fact that I am a dragon. Anyway, I'm mulling over some ideas. Some things that I've thought of, but I don't know if anybody would be interested in, like maybe seeing videos for how I do my makeup beforehand, which I don't know if anybody's interested in seeing, but, you know, maybe. Maybe kind of a behind-the-scenes look at as to what I dig into for what all I go through when I'm trying to when I'm setting up these videos, all the different books I dig into, where I go looking for what stuff. Yeah, maybe another thing I thought of, maybe a video of me explaining different spreads I do and how I do them. I don't do a whole lot of spreads, but I did recently have a friend ask me, because she needed an explanation on how to do a Celtic cross, and so if you wanted to, like, maybe an explanation of how I do a Celtic cross, or anything else, anything like that, hit me up with ideas if you got any, or, you know, any of the ones I mentioned, what you're maybe interested in or not. Maybe an introduction to my first more than you see them here. If we can get them to introduce themselves, they're not very tamed. So, maybe I'll let you meet Jax, our puppy dog. He likes to bug me on occasion, but since I do these in the morning now, and I keep the door open for the light, he'd much rather sit outside in the sun. He is a sun dog. And I mean that in that when he probably passes from physical life, he's going to end up being a sun dog. I know. It's like every time I'll see one, I'll be like, that's Jax. Alright. So, anyway, I am trying to see if I can't keep this down to about 45 minutes, so fingers crossed. Because I don't like going over and on and on and on and on, and here I am talking. Anyway. Okay, I do like going on and on and on, but I doubt anybody wants to listen to that. Alright, so, High Priestess. 8 cards today. Pick a card, any card. Actually, don't. Alright, so, let's get to it. So, the High Priestess is either the second or the third major arcana card. So, technically in the numbering system, she's the second major arcana card. But if you count first from the Fool, like if you actual count the way they order it, she's the third. But given the fact that the Fool is 0 for the most part, she's technically the second card of the major arcana because the Fool can fall anywhere. We talked about that in the Fool episode. Go watch that for full in-depth. So because she's the second major arcana card, her number is 2. Well, that's one of her numbers according to Kabbalah. Her number is... Yes? Number value is 3. Well, the Kabbalah's path number value is 3, so she corresponds to both 2 and 3 at the same time. Which is interesting. But we're going to focus on the 2 for the number value. We'll save 3 for the Empress, which will be next month. So 2, we've kind of explored this in the 2 of Wands, and it's going to come up again with the 2 through all the suits. So, we're going to get to know all the numbers really, really well. So 2 represents duality. It's the first spiritual number in Pythagorean numerology, which is the numerology I use, by the way. I'm pretty sure I've mentioned it before, but that never hurts to say so again. This duality, it's the first spiritual number. Basically, Pythagorean numerology splits numbers up into... Come on, I know this. Physical, spiritual, and mental numbers. So basically, 1 is physical, 2 is spiritual, 3 is mental, 4 is physical, 5 is spiritual, 6 is mental, etc. And sorry, and on through 9. Sorry about my voice today. I try and hopefully not any sort of cold, but my sister's been working her job. There's a cold running around, so I'm sitting here. I feel the inklings of a sore throat, and I don't like it. So I'm on vacation next week. I don't want to have a cold while I'm on vacation. Not the cold's really doing much to me anyway. Sorry, rabbit trail. Go over there. Alright. So duality, the first spiritual number. It's also the number that is a gateway to sensitivities because we split ourselves, if using Pythagorean numerology, if we split ourselves into 3 beings, you have your mind, which is your mental, your physical, which is your body, bone, skin, all that stuff, and then spiritual encompasses not only our soul and our spirit, but also what most people would split into another category, our emotional body. Spiritual covers the emotional body, so as 2 is the gateway to sensitivities, is because that's the first spiritual number. It's our first entrance into spiritual, our spiritual being, our spiritual aspects of ourselves. So our emotional, our soul, all that. So what most people would usually split into 4, Pythagorean numerology, like I said, splits into 3. So it's that first step into our feeling body is the number 2. It's the first step into our feeling body. So it's also our first step into our intuition. It's 2 is the number of intuition in Pythagorean numerology. Which again corresponds very well to the High Priestess because she is a card that represents intuition and knowing. Because as we can see here in our vice versa tarot, this is as close to a traditional RWS depiction as I get in any of my decks. Like, this is the closest it basically is to RWS depiction. She's black and white, but they're all intermingled and mixed here on the floor. Boaz and I forget what the J stands for. Boaz and it's not Jezebel. That's something else. I'll look it up here in a minute. But anyway, the two columns of black and white. I know what these mean. I totally do. We'll get to it. But anyway, intuition, black and white. Everything is black and white, but they're intermingled and commingled. And then, of course, but even with all that set, it's outside. It's standing outside of all this purple. Her robe, the curtains, purple and blue. Purple is spirituality. Blue is also a spiritual color. It's slightly more mental in my viewpoint, but for the most part it's not. And the other thing, of course, is we only see half of her throne. Half of her throne is covered, half of herself is covered. She's got one foot out on a pillow. There's meaning to this, I know it. And behind her, we can kind of see into the arbitorium behind her. It's literally night, stars, space. It's all the mysteries. Now, the cool thing about the vice versa cards, we have a backside. So we're seeing out from behind her, and so we're kind of in the mysteries in this view. We're inside the mysteries and the intuition, and we're exploring it. We have here Mercury and sulfur. Yeah, Mercury and sulfur. Two of the main alchemical aspects. Mercury represents our spirit, and sulfur represents our soul. Correct? That should be correct. I believe so. Hey, look, I have an alchemy book here. Wow. Did I not get farther than this? Okay. Okay, sulfur, salt, and mercury are the main three essential elements of alchemy. So in her card we see mercury and sulfur. So Mercury is the combination of water and air. Sulfur is the combination of air and fire. So it's so air is all things gaseous, the mind, cosmic. Water is everything liquid. My mind is all kinds of scattered, so this is working out great. But anyway, so we have basically, for the most part, it's all fire, air, water. It's a mixing of mind, intuition, and passion with all of this. You'll notice, however, we are missing salt, the earth, spiritual. None of this is grounded. The High Priestess is not grounded. She is not worried about the heavy-duty bottoms of the earth. This is all... I'm already diving into the alchemy, and that's like a way down on my list. Anyway, let's just go with it. Ooh, my cards. But yeah, she is all intuition and mental and the mysteries and everything. There is nothing about her that has anything to do with the solid physical earthly structures. She is water, she is air, she's a little bit of fire. Not a whole lot of fire, just enough to give that air and water a push. Now, the fun thing the interesting thing I did want to point out about this card is you'll see in the back here, she's got two keys on a pillow. Now, and the only reason I noticed this is because it's pointing out my friend Joey's tarot class, which I've taken once and sat through as a helper a few other times. Those keys sit at the foot of the Hierophant, because he holds the keys to the religion the structured religion, the not just, and what I'm getting at here is you go into the mysteries of the High Priestess, you go into the mysteries, and from there you unlock, you gain the keys that unlock the structure and foundation that you create in the hero hunt. So anyway, I thought that was I thought that was a bit of an interesting, but I got way off of number 2 and 13 minutes. So anyway, number 2, duality, spiritual, gateway to sensitivity is the number of intuition. The High Priestess's main number. You know what? So I already started on it. Let's just go ahead straight into the alchemy of it. So, like I already said, she's got a lot of mercury and sulfur, no salt. This card I picked for the alchemy section. So this is from my Dragon Oracle. So 2, the High Priestess is renamed here as Wisdom. So again, that intuition, that inner knowing, that I haven't necessarily learned this, I studied it as knowledge. Now granted, there's all kinds of different theories as to what intuition is specifically. Some people think it's like there's like ancestral memory, genetic memory, that we don't actually know or have access to on a conscious level most of the time. Whoa, excuse me. There's the thought that it's like connecting to the wider internetwork of people, the collective. That's the word for it. The outer collective, basically the wisdom of all that is and has been, basically. Again, wisdom. There's of course also the thought that, you know, it's something we've picked up, but we haven't remembered consciously, or like we haven't filed it in our knowledge sector. It's like, oh, hey, that's kind of cool, or we didn't even really notice it, because our mind notices a lot more than we consciously realize. So, and it's like all that stuff we don't consciously realize and file under that. The stuff we consciously realize gets filed under knowledge. The stuff we don't realize consciously, that we don't pick up on, gets filed under intuition. Me personally, I think it's a conglomeration of all of those. I think it's stuff we pick up. I think it's stuff we remember from past lives, stuff we've connected to through the collective, genetic memory, ancestral memory, all of that. I think intuition is all of that combined. Spiritual connections as well. It's connecting to spirit, to the divine, connecting to everything that has been, ever will be, whatever. It's, to me, that's what intuition is, and once we focus and acknowledge that intuition and start to really use it, that's when we hit wisdom. That was not alchemy. But that was something. So, I'll go with it, whatever. But yeah, so like I said, that's when we hit wisdom. Now, the specific alchemy of the High Priestess. I'll go ahead and read it out of my Path of Alchemy book, which I totally studied. Actually, so in Alchemy, the Priestess, this card reveals the secrets of nature to us through study and application of the divine laws manifesting in our perceptions of the visible and invisible worlds. The veil of ignorance is pulled back, and nature stands revealed in the Empress. The Priestess is linked to the prima materia, or first matter of the wise, and needs to be studied in this way. The prima materia is everywhere and can be had cheaply if we just know where to look and how to harness it. The lunar forces influencing our world are microcosmic reflection of the greater principles demonstrated by this comet. So, again, inner knowledge, nature, the mysteries, intuition, all of that, being able to access it leads us to the wisdom. Because right here we see she's all kinds of, it's like, okay, cool looking, but we don't know. You can't actually see. Everything is hidden. Even from this side, we're not actually seeing behind her. We're not seeing through to this view. We're looking at her. So this gives us the understanding that we have already experienced the mysteries, and we're bringing them out. We're going to apply them. So once we hit those inner knowings, that's when we bring that intuition into wisdom. That's when we bring that knowing forth. But we can't see. I don't know where to point with this. Back behind her. We can't see that back. We're just seeing. We are in it, so we can't see it. It's still a mystery. It's still unknown. But we're bringing it forward as wisdom. It's not something we're going to consciously know. It's those keys. We now have access to those keys. We now have created those keys and can bring them out and forward. We can bring them out into the Hierophant. We can become the key holder, the holder of the mysteries. No, we're not going to get too into Hierophant because that's 3 months? I totally know my numbers. 3 months from now, we'll definitely dive into Hierophant. But yeah, this is where we start that journey towards the Hierophant. Is when we have accessed those mysteries, that inner knowing, that wisdom. This is where we start our journey towards the Hierophant. Wow, that was intense. And totally out of order. There. Alright. Well, now that we've kind of covered, like, gone back and forth, let's kind of bring it back a little bit. Okay. So, moving on, we're going to get into the Kabbalah of the High Priestess. And, of course, we're going to start with the Kabbalistic angel, who is Angel 44. And how you spell her name is not how you say it. It's Yelahia. Her name means God the Eternal and Lasting, or Lasting. God the Eternal or God the Lasting. Yelahia is a virtue, so she's one of the 3 down from the very top, I believe. One of the angels that the virtues are responsible for making miracles occur on earth. So she's one of those. Her psalm, for those who do psalmic magic, is Psalm 119, verse 108. And she basically, the basic meaning for this, when pulled, is the keyword they have here is success and protection from magistrates. So basically the meaning when you pull the card is success, which is interesting for a High Priestess card. Yelahia is okay, let's step back. So we're going to start back to those born under her. So she is the sole guardian for those born from 2:20 to 2:40 p.m. The moral guardian for those born May 2nd, July 13th, September 23rd, December 4th, and February 14th. She is the physical guardian for those born from October 21st to 25th. So she's actually my physical guardian as well as my sisters, my older sisters. And those born under her will have a love to travel in order to learn and will succeed in all undertakings. Their name will be famous in the pomp and glory. I'm pretty much reading that straight from the book. Interesting as it would be, though. I have a... I'm just going to say right now, I have a want to be famous, but I think most people do, so... whatever. Alright. So, as an angel, what she guards and protects, what she's the angel over, if you work with angelic magic and you want to call upon her to ensure success of an undertaking, um, she will ensure success of an undertaking. She gives protection against armies and magistrates. So, I mean, I doubt most of us will go up against an army, but I'm sure there are a few that will. So she grants protection against armies and against magistrates, so against the law. So if you're in court, she also gives victory in trials, like literal court trials type deal. So if you're really hoping for victory, maybe call her up. I'm sure, given the fact that she's an angel, it has to do with you actually have to be in the right. Just as an FYI, when it comes to angels, you tend to need to be in the right if you want them to actually work for you. So yeah, she ensures success of undertakings. So Yelahia, God the eternal and lasting. Yeah. So that's our Kabbalistic angel, and then falling into the Kabbalah specifically, the High Priestess rules the path between Kether, the Sephiroth, Kether, which is the crown, the very top one, and Tiferath, which is the Sephiroth of beauty, or it's also known as the king. So so we've already kind of explored it a little bit, so we kind of have a visual. So the crown, Kether sits here. Then we have Bina and Chakma, which are on either side, and then of course it goes down, and then Tiferath is actually Kether, and there's a giant space where there's kind of, the theory is there's an unformed Sephiroth. But we go there all the way down to kind of closer to our, I have this here, totally do. Ran away from me. Okay. Okay, so it's in the, in alchemy, it's kind of in between air and water. So Tiferath is kind of instead. We've got then Chakma, Gebra, Chesed, and then Tiferath. So Kether, so we all the way from the crown to basically the heart. So she is that pathway in between the Kether and Tiferath. So between crown and beauty. So, which I mean makes sense if it's basically corresponding to the heart and human body. So like shoulders, arms, shoulders. Okay, I'll apply it later. So the concept, of course, is the moon. And we'll get into it with the astrology, but the moon rules the High Priestess, interestingly enough. This path, the path between Kether and Tiferath, is path 13. It corresponds to the Hebrew letter Gamel. I don't know what that means. Its image is the camel, and the English letter, it corresponds to the English letter G, and of course, like I said earlier, its number value is 3. Tiferath we haven't covered before, and actually won't cover it until I start getting to the 6s, so that's going to be a bit. But anyway, she rules that path in between the crown and beauty. So our crown is basically that Kether is the highest you can get on the Tree of Life. It's basically God form, but right underneath it, because technically in the Kabbalah, God is completely formless. So Kether is that first step down from godhood, from God. So it's that first light of understanding, that first knowledge type deal before it actually really splits into knowledge and wisdom, which we've already covered before. So it's that crown, that first being, I guess, that first knowledge of being. And between that and beauty, the form of the king, the ruler of beauty, it's the longest path on the Tree of Life, interestingly enough. And like I said, there is a theory of an unformed Sephiroth in between that we're supposed to discover. Yeah, that's what she rules, is that path in between crown and beauty, which again kind of makes sense because it's in between air and water, which air and water together is Mercury again. So a little bit back to the alchemy on that. Yes, alchemy on that. As again, she rules. She's well associated with, basically, intuition is the spirit. That intuition, Mercury is the spirit, and of course it's a combination of mind and heart, knowledge and intuition, which create wisdom. So basically, if you want wisdom, you got to bring your mind into play with your heart. You got to bring your mental into play with your intuition. Knowledge and intuition combined create wisdom, which High Priestess rules. Me. It's also my hashtag. I don't know what it says on her arm. Yeah. Alright, so that's our Kabbalah. And I know I'm moving kind of fast here. I'm already at 30 minutes, and I'm trying to keep it under an hour, preferably closer to 45, so probably not gonna make it, but we'll try. Alright, so the astrology for the High Priestess is interesting enough, and I think I've heard this come up before, and I didn't realize it was such a big thing. The High Priestess is ruled by the moon. You'd think that the moon card would be ruled by the moon, but it's not. The moon card is actually ruled by Pisces. Yes. Yes, Pisces. The moon card is actually ruled by Pisces in the tarot, and the High Priestess is ruled by the moon. So we got a pretty good view here with our Arcana tarot. She's literally holding the moon. She's holding all, because the moon corresponds to, again, wisdom, feminine, more specifically, feminine mysteries, which has been mentioned before with the High Priestess, and I forgot this. She's got pomegranate. Now, granted, in this one, she's only got one pomegranate. In the RWS, she's got like a whole carton of pomegranates on it behind her. Pomegranates correspond to feminine mysteries, more specifically, blood mysteries. Which, so we're not beating around the bush, menstrual blood, actual periods type deal. That's what the pomegranates correspond to in the High Priestess, because feminine mysteries, the feminine mysteries, because menstrual bleeding is associated with feminine people, women, in particular, and anyone, but it's a connection to that, since I want to take it kind of out of that gender rolled thing, because there are masculine folks and completely non-binary folks that also bleed, that choose to bleed, because, I mean, we have the choice not to. I chose not to. I went on testosterone as fast as possible, and like within 6 months, I was like, that's gone by. Didn't really cause me much dysphoria, but not exactly something I wanted. So, I don't have that connection. However, there are plenty of people who do, and they're not all women or feminine or femmes. So, pulling it out of that, these menstrual blood cycles connect very strongly, and that's kind of why there's a pomegranate to the moon, because, well, pomegranate's an orb, so the moon is an orb. Duh. And then, of course, pomegranate's red, like bleeding, and then the menstrual cycles are connected to the moon cycles. So the moon phases, it waxes and it wanes, and it's new and it's full, all that lovely stuff. So do the uterus's cycles. They wax and they wane as fertility. It's fertility creation. They Basically, the way a menstrual cycle works is the uterus goes, oh, we're getting prepared to have a baby, so it creates the egg. It's up there in the, whatever it's called, the ovary. It's sitting up there in the ovary. So the uterus itself is sitting there, so it's all getting prepared. So it's bringing in the nutrients, bringing in the blood, bringing in placenta, like building it all up to make a perfect spot for a baby to grow. So what the uterus would like to have, so that we can associate with the waxing of the moon from new to full. So the uterus is building its chamber, and then what happens, what is biologically preferred to happen, obviously, is, sperm enters, fertilizes the egg goes down there, and then either way, whether there's a pregnancy happens or not, same thing happens. We hit full. That's the prime period for fertilization. It's the full moon. It's prime period for everything to come into culmination. We've been building towards something. Now we're here at its peak. We're ready. Now, one of two things happen with menstrual cycles. Either a person gets pregnant or they don't. Either way, we've hit that max. And then what happens now is, okay, so this is where it diverges into two paths. If that person is now pregnant, all that nutrients and stuff is going into the egg to make a baby, to actually grow another human being, which is kind of fascinating. Just don't want that in my body, but I respect those who can do it. Mad respect to those who can do it. So that's kind of the prime period. That's what we use the moon magic for as well, is we've hit this, we've grown, now we've hit that prime peak, now we've planted that seed, we've started that work, and now all that planning and whatnot is going into creating that new thing, that new being, that new life, whatever. Same with the menstrual cycles if we're going along the pregnancy path. Is they're creating a being, and then of course once that ends after like 9 months or whatever, then you pop out a new human being, which, I've heard stories. I know what's involved. Mad respect to those who can do it. Mad fucking respect. Holy shit. Not my thing at all. Good on you. Whew. Anyway, sorry, that just kind of makes me hinky. Just pregnancy talk, just ugh. Mad fucking respect to those who can do it. Oh, hell no. No on me. Anybody wants my uterus? It's pretty much fully functioning as well. I don't even know if that's a possibility. Sorry. Man, I'm all types of hyper today. Okay, so anyway, that's the pregnancy path. The alternate path, which is where this ties in very strongly with, the moon cycles, is so because most menstrual cycles hit very much along a monthly. It's approximately 28 to 30 day cycle, or 27 to 30 day cycle, give or take. And what happens is basically that chamber's all full. No baby. Okay, so it's time to deconstruct, because that stuff's only useful for so long. It needs to either go into making a baby, or it's gonna get toxic. So the womb starts deconstruction, sending it out. And once it hits a certain point of actually falling out, that's when the menstrual actual bleeding cycle starts. It's like, okay, we've hit that prime period, no baby, okay, time to start tearing stuff down, cleaning it out, time to do all the cleaning work. There's no eggs fertilized now anymore, we gotta clean it all out, and now we gotta send out the waste. And that's when the bleeding starts, obviously. So that's closer to when we're hitting that waning moon cycle, is all that blood is coming out, falling out, again, associated with feminine mysteries, air quotes, beyond belief. There we go. Bleeding mysteries, the bleeding menstrual cycle mysteries. Because That's the other thing. So then all that bleeding's going out, and then once it finishes, that's when we're at the new moon, so to speak. Um, so that's where our moon cycle, our menstrual cycles, our traditionally feminine cycles, bleedings, mysteries, and all that come together in the High Priestess. That's why it's the High Priestess, and that's why she's associated with the moon. Is because we're talking about the reason it's hidden is because all that's happening inside. Yeah, more and more today, we can actually track it and know what's going on. I mean, X-rays, whatever. They've done all kinds of experiments. But that's the thing, is we're slowly gaining more knowledge. We're slowly accessing all that wisdom, or all that knowledge and intuition, and being able to bring it forth into ways I can sit here and explain it out to you, but we don't see it. It's all inside. The only thing we see is like 3 to 7 days a month, there's blood everywhere. That's all we see. That's why it's hidden knowledge, hidden mysteries. It's the moon cycle. It's like nowadays we know what's going on with the moon cycle. We know what's going on with the menstrual cycle, but not everybody does. It's still something that you have to actually go dig for. You get to experience. You have to access. You have to be curious about type deal. That's why we've got that association with the moon, between the moon, the hidden mysteries, the menstrual cycles, all that, all coming together in that ruling. Okay, that was not where I was supposed to go with that, but that's where it went. Jax, quit trying to destroy my. Okay. Dog. So, a little bit on the moon from my tarot and astrology book. High Priestess, the embodiment of the moon. So the different goddesses associated with the moon, a few of them is Selene, Luna, Artemis, Diana. That's just the Greek and Roman ones, because those are the only ones I can remember off the top of my head, which I feel kind of bad for. So again, she's kind of the, you kind of got to pair the moon in kind of correlation with the sun. So mask, femme, light, dark, sun, moon, by the way. Light, dark, action, reaction, masculine, feminine, radiance and reflection, conscious and subconscious mind. We see the sun and the moon is the same size just from our vantage points, and then of course one rules the day, one rules the night. And even in mythology, they're usually seen as brother and sister, or even a few times husband and wife. But either way, they're always constantly a pair. So we'll probably look at this more. I might do a special on this with the sun and the moon, probably after I've gotten through the sun card, so it's going to be a while down the road. But anyway, a little bit more of association with the moon, between moon and tarot. And now granted, this is about the High Priestess, so just remember that this is about the High Priestess. Just as the moon reflects sun's light, it also reflects our unconscious needs and desires. Because the moon is shrouded in shadows and darkness, it represents secrets and mysteries that may not be understood or even recognized. This is about the High Priestess, right? This sounds like the moon card. You know what? I'm gonna leave that for the moon card. Yeah, no, we'll go with the womb mysteries. Anyway, we've hit 45 minutes, damn it. Okay, so, and of course, then a little bit more on astrology. In the Celestial Tarot, we have the moon as the High Priestess, obviously. And this one, I'm going to go ahead and read their thing for it. Selene, the original Greek goddess of the moon, is the surrogate of the High Priestess. Rising out of the ocean, Selene yoked her shimmering horses to her chariot and drove it across the night sky, mesmerizing the earth in the gentle glow of her moonlight. As half-veiled, the goddess has invited us into her mysteries, responding to our urge to be engaged in her reverie and to unveil the truth. In the background is the shadow of the traditional High Priestess, who carries the essence of goddess wisdom from all cultures. On an oracular level, the High Priestess invites us to become more aware of symbols and signs, feeling responses and bodily aches and pains, emotional reactions, and mood swings in general, the inner life. The veil that conceals the other world lifts to reveal its mystery. So that's the other thing. Even though this is very strongly associated with, like, say, menstrual cycles and periods, it can be put towards anything else along those lines. I mean, we're, like it was just saying, mood swings, our emotions, our this one and the High Priestess and the Moon card, and Tarot, and I don't have the Moon card here, but the more I'm actually delving into this today, the more you can put those two together, and if those came up in a reading together, I'd probably say you need to really look at your own inner workings, whether it be mental, spiritual, or physical. It's like something's going on that you're not seeing consciously. Something that is a cycle, is a constant changing. Because our mood cycle, our moods never stay the same as they are. Our emotions are always changing. Our body is always moving, growing, changing. Our our inner spiritual world is always kind of evolving in different ways, cycling through phases of growth and phases of stillness. Just it's constantly circling and spiraling. Whether that spiral is going upward or downward is also always cycling. It's like this. The High Priestess speaks towards knowing that cycle. The Moon card is all about, hey, something hidden is here, and it's something that has to do with moving and change and cycling. High Priestess is telling us to go look at it, to go understand it, to go dive into it, to unveil it. Right here. Sorry, my mind went towards, I'm not touching her boobs, I swear. Like, boobies. 12-year-olds. Okay, but yeah, her veil. It's like, with the High Priestess coming up, it's like, it's time to go look at something. Probably more often than not, it has to do with something spiritual. But it would depend on where it comes up on a reading. If I had the right cards and I was getting that intuition feeling, like, especially if there were a lot of pentacles maybe around, a lot of earth cards, or like I said, even the moon, especially the moon card, might even be something physical. It's like anything that cycles, which most things do, but anything that has a regular steady cycle, and especially a short cycle, like a monthly cycle, moon, month, anybody? Something that has a shorter cycle. The Wheel of Fortune would be something I associate to a much longer cycle, like a year-long cycle, especially if that came up with the Sun card. The High Priestess and the Moon card, however, I'm going to say that's a much shorter cycle. It's a large cycle, like something like a month, give or take, but it's a shorter one. It's something that happens on a more regular basis, more regular, consistent, trackable basis. Easily trackable basis. Everything's trackable. So yeah. Not a whole lot on the astrology. I'm going to actually say most of it, like I said, for the Moon card, which is going to be a while from now. So, last couple of bits. In the spirit of Halloween, deck, y'all know I like using it for the beans they come up with because I think it's fascinating. So obviously this one, not too much to it. It's the fortune teller as associated with the high priestess. So again, someone who knows, someone who's connected to that divine knowledge, intuition, wisdom, and all that. Someone who can divine it for you, can tell, can reveal it to you, reveal those mysteries. And cat's apparently home. Dog's gone insane. Anyway, someone who can reveal those mysteries and everything to you. Um, so, fortune teller, pretty obvious. Not too much of that. So we will end with our traditional meaning, and I love the Lawful Tarot for this. So again, strong witchy vibes here with the High Priestess. So again, knowledge, intuition, hidden stuff, feminine mysteries. Again, feminine with air quotes. Cause it's night. So I'm gonna go ahead and read a little bit from Kitchen Table Tarot on her traditional meaning. Uh, doesn't tell you what this was. Job is, I believe. Okay. So what she says is, when I see it in a reading, I tell the client to look deeper, ask questions, trust their intuition, and mind their manners. There's a proper etiquette to asking the universe questions. You have to do your homework. You have to show respect, or she just might close the curtains and send you on your way. She isn't really a mother archetype, but more of a visionary. This is the card for tarot readers and wise women or men. When you think of the High Priestess, think of the attendants of the Delphic Oracle or the keepers of the temples of the goddesses throughout various cultures. Look behind the curtain, the vast sea. Every card that contains water has to do with emotion. In this card, the High Priestess is the only person who has access to that water. She's the translator, the soothsayer, the agent for change. This isn't an easy card, but tells you that the hard work will pay off. So, inverted, just because some of us do inversions or reversals. This card is inverted. It can mean that someone is being superficial or shady. It doesn't invite depth and doesn't feel very reliable. Inverted, our High Priestess is manipulative and tricksy. I had a classmate in grade school who said she'd be my friend if I shared my snacks with her. A gossipy person who twists reality to make suit her agendas. Inverted, the High Priestess doesn't want you to look deeper, doesn't want you to see her because she feels she is flimsy and shoddy. It's actually quite sad. Personally, I often flip it. It feels like a right side up card to me. Anyway, and we can kind of see that in this card, because it's like, yeah, here, this one in this deck, she's hiding stuff. She is going to make you work for it, again, like she said, traditional meaning. She's going to make you work for it. Inverted, kind of shallow, probably not a whole lot with the man behind the curtain. Yeah, so, whew, that's a High Priestess. It's been interesting. There's a lot of intuitive channeling, I think, going on here today. So, well, I didn't manage to keep it at 45 minutes, but I did manage to keep it under an hour, hopefully. So, yep, been fun. I'll see you 2 weeks from now. So next week is the first Sunday, so not going to be any episodes. Week after will be the Four of Wands, so we'll head into that. We'll get a little bit of stability going on here. So check me out on Patreon, I mentioned it earlier, and like, comment, subscribe, and definitely comments, tell me anything you'd like to, that would get you interested in, like, Patreon, what kinds of stuff you'd like to see, maybe behind the scenes stuff. So the Patreon is Bags and Omens at Patreon, or patreon.com/bagsandOmens. Like, comment, subscribe here on the YouTube. Find me on Facebook at Bags and Omens with an ampersand. You can also check out my daily card read on Intuitive Tarot Read, which is a business owned by someone else. But it's a Monday through Friday daily card read. You can contact me for a reading. I will do distance or online readings. And then I also have in-person readings on Sundays at Strega here in Sierra Vista. 11 to 5 11 to 5 on Sundays. Wow. Mixing up my dates here. And also if you got any more in-depth questions, you can email me at bagsandomens@gmail.com. And yeah, I think that's good. So I'll see y'all in 2 weeks for the Four of Wands. Bye bye and take care of yourselves.